Hello, everyone. Wonderful to have you today with me for the session on networking abroad, how to build your global career. My name is Lea. I represent Binus University. I am in the role of international communication, engagement, and student recruitment manager. I also teach for Binus Business School. So part of my job at Binus is to build partnerships with schools, governments, other stakeholders, as well as to recruit international students, to teach international business and support international students in their integration within the Binusian community. So I hope that today's lecture is going to be useful. These are our wonderful students from all over the world. So the first question that comes up, why essentially is networking, and especially global networking, important today? Bianca Cole of Forbes Women essentially reminds us that no one is an island. So it is very important that we build long-term relationships which will result in mutual benefits over time. So some of the reasons why we need to network is to trade information, to build trust, essentially, knowing relevant people and having had a past relationship, partnership, or collaboration with them opens up new opportunities, and it helps you essentially being noticed. You can probably think about an instance where you had that selfie with a famous person, you put it on an Instagram, and all of a sudden you had a lot of new followers. Well, this is an example of being noticed through people, through other people who have more visibility than you. You have access to newer opportunities. All the important jobs are first advertised within networks, within institutions. There is also an opportunity for you to get access to resources, such as funding from people who are in more influential positions than yourself. Well, of course, it boosts self-confidence as well, right? To have friends from different walks of life who can help you. And how does all this relate to global networking and building a global career? Well, networking helps you essentially build global competitive advantage. So what does this essentially mean? Knowing people from around the world helps you build your internationally mobile career. And international businesses, of course, want people who know others who are in influential places in different parts of the world. So essentially, you have the opportunity to create value for international businesses if you have a global So why students choose overseas study? Because according to one of the QS studies, students are looking for employment prospects. Also very important, which is related to building an international career, they're looking for connections worldwide in 45% of the cases. Quality of education, of course, important. Student experience, opportunities to travel. But building connections is among one of the most important reasons. We had a group of researchers in Hungary conducting an analysis of the different reasons why students study overseas, and they have essentially come up with 4 different groupings of the main reasons. One of these is, of course, cost. There are opportunities when you study overseas to actually save on costs. This is one of the reasons why very often students from US study in Europe, because the quality of education is comparable while the tuition fee is much more affordable. This is one of the reasons why we receive students to Binus. We offer double degrees with prominent universities in Australia and UK, but at Indonesian fees. Geopolitical area, so overseas for cultural curiosity. They want to challenge themselves, build their adaptability, self-reliance, critical thinking. They want a place where they're going to feel comfortable. So study location is important. Some are specifically trying to build their international career. So they're looking at things such as degree recognition, employment opportunities, intercultural competence and global mindset as it plays out at the campus and within their community. Some of them want the language studies, so they're targeting a particular, again, geopolitical area. So the two, all of these are, of course, interrelated as well. Some students have family ties, or they got a recommendation from a friend or family, and they want to build their global network, which then comes back to geopolitical area and international career. Well, however, 40% of international students have no close local friends. Yeah. So according to the International Student Barometer, international students value relationships in the local community high, but they have more friends from their own country while studying overseas and other countries than the host country. That's not necessarily an issue. If you want a global network, this is what you want. You want friends who have from your home country who have studied overseas. You want friends from other countries. But of course, you need to know people who are in your host country as well. So what are some of the reasons why then it is so difficult to network when you come to a new place? Well, first of all, if you're traveling for the first time, you're lacking cross-cultural competence. And of course, because of the different cultures, there are some frictions and some difficulties in adjusting to the new place. To consider as well is that local students don't necessarily also have cross-cultural competence. We also have a tendency to be attracted to people who are similar to us. We have seen that students study overseas for different reasons. Not all students have clear networking goals and approaches to help them build their local network. And sometimes the institutional structures at their host universities are not supportive of networking. So let's try to look at each of these issues a bit more closely. Just one moment. Okay. All right, so intercultural competence. Interculturalist Gary Weaver in 1986 introduced the concept of surface and deep culture, and I'm sure you have all seen this iceberg symbolic before. So there are visible elements of culture, such as food, literature, different types of games, music. But then a lot about the culture hides beneath the surface, such as the different communication styles, notions of leadership, of democracy, of friendship, approaches to marriage, concepts of fairness, attitudes towards different things, towards elders, towards work. All this differs, of course, across cultures. And this, when two cultures that don't know each other meet, this results in, to some extent, stereotypes, oversimplified ideas of different groups, in unconscious bias, unsupported positive and negative judgments of the other culture. And essentially in microaggressions. These are brief and commonplace daily verbal or behavioral indignities, whether intentional or unintentional, that essentially create this friction between the two different countries or cultures in general. So let's try to hear from one of the students in the United States, but this can be happening essentially anywhere, about her experience as an international student. Just one moment. I will try to wait for one more second. If we have a technical issue, then I will move on.
Hello, Lea.
Hello.
Is your presentation ended?
No, I'm still sharing.
Okay, great. You can continue then. Thank you very much, Lea.
Yeah, it's not ended. I wanted to technical issues. So not to then waste more time on this, I wanted to show you a video of a Chinese student essentially adapting to her life at an American university. And she is essentially explaining the issues that she went through in her first year, not understanding some of the cultural tendencies of Americans and some of the questions that they were asking her, explaining that she felt more comfortable around the Chinese, other Chinese students. No? So this explains essentially what I was mentioning earlier, that at one end, we have these two different cultures coming together. But then again, another issue is that the students, everybody tends to hang out with others who are similar like them. And in other words, birds of a feather flock together. We always need to be aware of this. So people are attracted to those with similar values, personality, activity preferences, physical attributes, and other. Yeah. So people who are similar in socioeconomic status, religious beliefs, social habits, even bad habits tend to come together more often than and become close friends than if this wouldn't be the case. So we need to keep this in mind as we're trying to build our global network. Of course, why? Because we also need complementary attributes. Yeah. So we hang out with people that have similar habits to us because it makes us feel comfortable. But in order to succeed, we need to hang out with people who are different from us as well. Nah? And this is where the social capital theory comes in, saying that essentially we are more successful the more we build important connections with strong ties with very close friends. Weak ties are as well important, and they lead to certain connections and to certain resources and that we and otherwise don't have as individuals. And we also need to be aware of the absent ties. So where should we be building more friendships in order to have access to resources? Yeah. So why is it so difficult? We know another reason is, well, we have networking fears. How do I start a conversation with someone new? What if I reach out to someone and then I get rejected? How do I keep in touch afterwards? Who should I be reaching out to in the first place? Like I mentioned, very often, as young students, even adults, we don't know how to approach networking strategically. Yeah. So we question one, how do I start the conversation with someone new? One of the LinkedIn recommendation is, well, ask for information. People want to be asked something. They essentially like to give advice and feel valued. When you ask information for somebody, you make them feel valued. You should pay a compliment. That's another thing that people like. Yeah, so it is an easy way to start a conversation with someone new. You can mention a shared experience. Remember, we are attracted to people who are similar to us. And the questions need to be open-ended so that you're essentially making the other person talk more and have to respond in such a way that the conversation flows and cannot end at yes or no. Well, what if I reach out to someone but then I get rejected? Yes, that's also a fear that we all have, and probably one of the most important fears to the fear of public speaking. Well, again, advice from experts is, well, what can the worst case scenario be? It can happen that you are rejected when you call somebody for coffee. Maybe people are busy. Essentially, the worst case scenario is that you got rejected this time. You can approach a different person, or you can ask this person next time when they're not so busy. Yeah, and then there is an advice to essentially start practicing this skill with people who are at the same level with you, who may be in your weak network, so to say. So first, you may approach someone who's on your team and isn't a friend. After that, you go to the next step, or maybe now you try to essentially approach somebody who was in the same meeting with you or who is in the same class with you, but normally you have never had a contact with them before. Then you may approach either your boss, if you have a boss, you're a student. You may want to approach your teacher, your lecturer, and try to see how the relationship can develop from there. So you can go through these different stages to practice your networking skill. Okay, well, how do I keep in touch afterwards? We have had coffee, lunch together. So what happens next? It is very important to come back to your network regularly. And after this first contact, within the first 30 days, you should come back by offering something that's of value to this person that you have had a conversation with before. So it's important to think about what it is that you can give to this person. Remember, networking is about mutual benefits. Can you offer a useful piece of information? Did you read an article that may be useful to this person? Or do you know somebody who can help them? For example, they're starting a new business. Do you know somebody with the type of knowledge that they need to start this business? You can, of course, offer a follow-up meeting. Now, it is very important to keep building the relationship at the personal level. Networking is not only, like we said, about exchanging information. It is about building trust and building long-term relationship. And for this, you need to know people at a personal level. And we don't like to do this, but essentially, networking, the approach to networking needs to include the follow-up system. You have to approach this strategically. Yeah, so you have to have a list of people that you think you need to meet in order to build your global career, and have a diary on how the conversations unfolded and when you last time followed up with them, so that you can plan for regular contact with these people. Who and how should I be reaching out in the first place? It is very important to first understand what your personal career goals are. What are your interests? Also, you need to think about what is it that you can offer to your network. What kind of knowledge do you have? What kind of skills? And then again, what kind of network you need to reach your particular career goal. If you need the group of relationship with for this purpose. You need to understand. Think about your values, think about your personality, think about the knowledge, maybe financial resources even, and think about the resources that you lack. Yeah. And then outline gaps in your social capital. Yeah. So what absent ties are there? Which are your weak ties? Which are your strong ties? And to do that, it's best to draw a social capital map. In this map, similar to what I'm showing you on the screen now, you need to think, where are you? What is it that you can offer? What is it that you're lacking? Who are your weak ties, strong ties? Where are the absent ties? Think about the group of people, your friends, co-workers from internship, your teachers, and think about where can you meet those people that you still need in your network and don't have access to, or who can introduce you to them from your existing network. Okay. So when you're at the host university, it is very, very important to reach out actively, to come over these networking fears and similarity affiliation bias and your cultural iceberg to connect to people, yes, other international students, but also the local community. Now, and you can do this through extracurricular activities on campus, different off-campus opportunities, traveling with other students. Don't forget, network is about building close connections, and there is no more beautiful way to build close friendship and ties than through traveling. Local housing. So living in places where local students live, also very important. And don't forget this second level, so not approaching only your friends, your age base, but also older people who are in more advanced positions than you, that can bring in resources later on that you may need. Next slide is coming, one moment. My screen froze, just 1 second. Okay. So like I have mentioned, in order to create your global network while you're studying overseas, you also need to pay attention to whether your host institution is providing the supportive structures. Is the institution in its mission and vision dedicated to diversity and inclusion? Courses, issues, training for faculty, staff, students, other ongoing interaction programs where international students and the local community can come together. Is there counseling, career counseling, integration counseling available for you as an international student? So let me give you an example from Binus University, how we try to provide it for our students. First of all, we have essentially developed from a small family business, which brought the first modern computer science education to Indonesia over 40 years ago. So the vision of the university is to connect with the international community, to foster and empower the society, to build the nation, and as well contribute to the international community by empowering Indonesia. So it is very important for us to have international students on campus, to have international activities, so that our students can develop the global mindset that they need for the international careers today. That's why we have a very strong exchange program with over 900 and over 700 visiting international students joining us every year. We have as well a growing number of international lecturers, while at the same time our Indonesian lecturers have either studied overseas, and they all have at least 5 years of industry experience, so they can connect you again to those important contacts for your future careers. Over 1,500 international collaboration activities, from seminars to all sorts of other different possibilities, and so on, which contributes to 90% of our students having some kind of international experience before they graduate. Yeah, so we measure this. Each of our students needs to have either studied abroad, or had to have an internship in a global company, or some other kind of international experience in order for us to prepare them for the global careers. And our programs are focusing on computing, on business, design, communications. All of these are very relevant programs today internationally. And we offer this program in partnership with over 240 study overseas partners, so that the students get a perspective not only through the lens of Indonesia and Southeast Asia or ASEAN, but also through case studies from other parts of the world. So we run double degrees, 4+0 programs, 3+1 options as well. But in 4+0 options, students stay 4 years in Indonesia, but they get 2 degrees from Binus University as top one private university in Indonesia, and another prominent university, usually in the US, in UK, Australia, and Europe. So, for instance, with the University of Newcastle in Australia, we ran a 4+0 program for business majors. Both of the schools are ACSB accredited. They're so internationally highly reputable and valued. And not only through this program, you get a network, a Binusian network, you also get to know people from the University of Newcastle. And this program is facilitated through Goal Business Education. So we, on top of that, offer mentoring programs which focus on things such as entrepreneurship, networking, and similar. We also run a similar program for design with Northumbria University in UK. Apart from that, out of the 4 years that our students spend studying the undergraduate program, 3 years they're in the classroom. 1 year they have to either study overseas, do community development, conduct an extensive research project outside of their final research thesis. They can be a part of our incubator, or they can have an internship. Yeah, so 95% of our students are employed following graduation because of this approach. And I have mentioned location is important as well. We are in Jakarta, which is a center of digital economy in Southeast Asia. It is also a very multicultural city, and many global businesses have their offices here. So you have access to very important opportunities living in Jakarta. I started with our mission, our Binusian values, very important as well. So we are trying to build students that strive for excellence, that persevere, that have high integrity, respect for different backgrounds, that innovate, that work well together. You have to be able to respect diversity and to be able to work in teams to build your global career. Yeah. So, for instance, at least one assignment within each of our courses is usually going to be a group project. Yeah. So you definitely learn how to work in groups when you're at Binus. Okay. Apart from that, we offer counseling, psychological, academic, career counseling to our students. We mentor students. We have a very lively iBuddy program, meaning local students helping new international students adjust to their life in Indonesia during their first year. We have peer tutoring. I have already mentioned Goal Business Education mentoring for our business students on the 4+0 program with the University of Newcastle. We have a dedicated international student engagement counselor who understands what international students need and engages in continuous discussion with international students to understand, okay, what are your problems, including what are your adjustment issues and networking issues within Binusian and in Indonesia. Now, our international office continuously builds programs where international students can demonstrate their cultural background and knowledge and share this with the local community. So the programs of continuous interaction are in place. We have different student clubs. Our Binus Square Hall of Residence, like I probably mentioned already, hosts both international and local students as another possibility to interact. And finally, we also offer a very generous scholarship covering full tuition and accommodation for international students, so that we open doors as well to students who may be in financial need to get access to Binusian community and essentially to the to their desired international career that they may not otherwise have access to. Yeah, so I was in a similar position like this. I will finish my presentation just talking briefly about myself as an example. I am a first generation college graduate. I studied primarily with scholarships as an international student from India to US and then Germany. And today I represent Binus University. I'm an international communication and student journey professional. I am a capacity building, branding, and marketing specialist, and a proponent of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And not surprisingly, you can probably imagine, I also live in my family circle in the international community. So how did all this essentially come about? So when I was growing up, it somehow ended up being outgoing, always dedicated to high quality output, upholding strong values. And then with time, I developed, because I was offered the scholarship in India, knowledge of English, knowledge of international education, intercultural communication. And this opened up different opportunities. Because I was very outgoing and good in academics and well connected among other students and close to teachers, I was recommended for a UWC United World College Scholarship. Then at another point in my life, always being in some kind of financial trouble, when I wanted to do my master's degree, I didn't get a full scholarship, but I was able to borrow some funds from friends from college and high school to do that, which was possible because they trusted who I was from knowing, from the years of knowing each other before. Then thanks to my Indonesian husband, when I came to Indonesia and his network, I was able to land a dream job in Indonesia. And then I was also quickly noticed and got a promotion at Binus University to my current position. So what I want to emphasize before I close is that in order to have an international career, you need to have clear goals. You need to understand all these issues that play out as we're trying to develop the network. But very important is to essentially build your own brand and build your own knowledge on the way that you can contribute to this network. Yeah. So how do you build your international career? It's very important to network globally. Don't forget to build the knowledge, to remember what your values are, and stay true to those values. And then think as well about how your study overseas option, university and location, contribute to your international career goals. Yeah. Just before we move to Q&A session, so if you want to connect with Binus, these are some of our social media handles. And then I strongly recommend Hive Indo, our online magazine, where you can hear more about Binusian community from our students and our staff. And this is my contact details. You can scan the QR code, or go to the bit.ly link to request more information about us. Thank you.